究竟赢了，结果嘞，总决赛里。
Picking up where we left off with this quote from Shabaripa, as it says, all phenomena, so like illusions, mirages, and reflections, all phenomena of appearance and sound are things devoid of characteristics. What appears as illusion is the space-like mind itself. So the essence of the mind itself and all that appears and exists is one and the same, and is without boundary and center or boundary and can be known by none. So it is not an identifiable thing. The various rivers, such as Ganga and so forth, have the same taste upon merging with the salty ocean. So even though there are different rivers and bodies of water, when they empty into the ocean, then they all become the nature of one water. They're all of one essence. Likewise, it must be realized that the various imputations, such as mind and secondary minds, have the same taste in the expanse of phenomena.
真的，这来到南诏写总别是南诏个就他们去了，南通、长通、这通也没南块的原因众多。真的在几岁没来这边去，这众多，大爷他们见了光别去是，当然大爷他们见了光别去是，绿南通换南家从这是，绿南通的换南家从这是。这了我容没别是吧是，这但我记得呀，换南家从我从的呀有嘛的是，这是吧是吃换着我说这是。
Mhm.
아, 자손능통 착세한다스. 당하라 조통능통 착세한다. 농바동배 착세한다 파르제람 소자 차옹그래. 어때?
Wait, ngọc đọc thông.
농통 착세한다스.
Mhm.
착세한다. 틀라 상해미 배 랑도시. 다든 지도냐 요 말에. 상해 마종도 랑도르시. 랑자도 저자도 시도 상해미 배 랑도시.
Mhm.
샘세동 남게고 탄다스. 샘세동도 남게고 노레스. 니레고 탄다스 원니다.你对我讨的是，他俩确实没被当自己，但你们那边的确实有嘛的，但那当自己把谁多的种多啊？
Kare? Oh, churime. Mhm.
你们那边确实有嘛的哇？
Mhm.
没对，真的当自己谁多的是，那就是后天那一类是，甚至同你对我讨的，他俩确实没被当自己是，他这样啥的？
So it says, thus, all phenomena of appearance and sound are the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, sound and emptiness, awareness and emptiness like space. So Jetson Milarepa also says, meditating on the Yiram deity, my illusory form appears clearly like a rainbow. But there's nothing to be found, or it is insubstantial in essence. Without attachment and aversion, it dwells as the union of appearance and emptiness, or luminosity and emptiness. Speech, which is the indivisibility of sound and emptiness, like an empty echo, there is nothing to be grasped, nothing to be accepted, and nothing to be rejected. And the within the mind, all or that which is to be accepted or accepting and rejected are exhausted within the experience of sound as the union of sound and emptiness. Mind as the union of clarity and emptiness is like the radiance of the sun and moon, shining everywhere without partiality. Within that understanding of the mind, the self-grasping, the habit of self-grasping is exhausted.
真的他手做这差不多就嘛，但同话不成绩都要是总是看见有嘛的是，这这的那一热是这头发不要美，这这弄发不要美，若你话不美，人家人把不美，先美先那就话美，先写的先写那是几把有把它先那表啥的吧，
Mhm.
一个朋友把它先那穷话生穷写的，但几把点穷说那他有嘛的是。
So then it goes on to say there, the next quote, there is neither form nor someone who sees. There is neither sound nor someone who hears. There is neither smell nor someone who smells. There is neither taste nor someone who tastes. There is neither touch nor someone who touches. There is neither mind or second nor secondary minds. Maitripa has said all phenomena are empty by their very nature. The concept of grass. Yeah.
对呢，我的没吃别个，就那么让人落的，我东西就他们让人看我东的有的，东半这边落的，这落让啥他是，我
Mhm.
东半这边落的，把让啥他落是，
Mhm.
落这一来前面的那上级工作人是的，东半这样去了，东半这样落在我那在往这边下落了，
Mhm.
在让啥子他呢？落。
Tong ba zin yaki lo gare.
东半只要落这用那，等人把钱落给你这，人家落
Mhm.
的用那，
Mhm.
东
Mhm.
半的什么那些落这用那，等那
Mhm.
东半只要去落台爬上啥
Mhm.
塔斯，人看要嘛的是上啥塔斯，
Mhm.
落这一来前面把是落这的落他车的一的前面吧，那上节工具上是，上节
So then, so as Maitripa has said, all phenomena are empty by their very nature. The concept of grasping at emptiness is purified in its own place. So, if there is the concept of one who perceives, essentially one who grasps, then there is grasping. But when there is and therefore there is the diluted concepts of dualistic phenomena. And when there is the absence of grasping of like the self-apprehending mind, then grasping is purified in its own place. Um,
好的的，
beyond, uh-huh,
呀，
lasso,
他上一辈。
lapsari.
真的，但第六个最重要了，可是呢，老一球的弄得通门通是，老一球的
Mhm,
通不嘛的意思。
mhm,
这边球的前面上面的，你专门的忙不在东方的，我们现在那前面啥子来不嘛的意思。
mhm,
弄得前面通多都是弄得被其他的事情没问题，通多都那是。但呢，让什么事情我接不了学，是让什么事情呢？但那接不了学，是我但什么那么多没吧？对，那么多没吧？他接不了是，他都什么都忘了，没学接不了个吧？让什么
mhm.
事情接不了学，是多半起码就在唐时就是那么多起码，
She chakching ganga mananga yere.
嗯，
Yeah, tang and
多半
tago.
起码就在唐时就是。我都会可松呀，都会
Mhm,
吃嘛去的，常休息，但能做吃嘛在群众把糖就是，可能哎，
kokendo.
真的那晚搞着没叫让说说是的，那晚搞嘛是做嘛的，在那晚搞着没叫让说说是，
Mhm, mhm,
帮了
mhm.
在前部头是我的帮了没呢，在帮家人家的车的呢，在叫在前部头个这种多，
Mhm, mhm.
可松呀，
Hako song data de chakching ganga mona taki hoka insana denda yena yagarewa. Uh, mm,
在吃的都提出做很多的，你刚才怕
yeah,
吃，
yeah. Uh-huh. Lasso, nyeso.
哎，
So Tilopa says in the Ganges Mahamudra, the intellect the intellect cannot see the truth of what is beyond the mind. You will not find the truth beyond action by means of deliberate action. To know what is beyond both mind and effort, cut through the root of your mind and rest in naked awareness. Mm, allow the water muddied by thoughts to settle naturally without affirming or negating what arises. Leave it as it is. When there is no acceptance or rejection, appearances are liberated into Mahamudra.
真的，他真就是，真的，当俺做的，我去他当做啥的，他就当俺做，他你今天总共去，乔山连接解决，他解决成本的，对对着在，你们的我那前但是提起他角度过嘛的，说的，过开的那从嘛卡西我有拍了吧，
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
我那个他提，俺说当晚上的，他当晚，
mm-hmm,
那他啥子那些没办法的，
mm-hmm,
俺说的是常常被讲的，但你们的记住。 多进那大话是就讲多进来我的，
Mm-hmm.
我点就他呢，我是他我做的，我是听你们做查送啊。
Mm-hmm. And so then the final lines here, it says, beyond thought and nothing to think about, this is the path of all Buddhas. So these instructions on the co-emergent Mahamudra from Lord Jigten Sumgön are really wonderful because they are so clear and profound, but very concise and easy to practice. Very clear in its instruction. Really, if you think about it, there isn't any instruction that's better than this, really. So it's great if you can refer to these teachings, to this text, from time to time, reading it, and then applying the instructions in practice. Then it can really have great benefit in your own spiritual practice.
真的，我们都在这里，
Correct?
就会是，等下去别下他们，但这个我可能出来好说。
Mhm.
我真的，他是把这他节娘们，
Mm. Sorry, so we finished. This is then now we have completed the introduction, the preliminaries, and the main section. And so now we're to the third section.
真的，节娘们真好些。我大节在多半的是的些，那娘们在中国去的。
Mhm,
娘们嘛，讲那在的些是娘们的去要，他不要混的，我凶那这娘们嘛就可怜怕没把抢着啊。
mhm,
这个娘们怕严着，娘们那温着是严的着，是那么多娘们温着
mhm,
是严着。
mhm,
哎，这个呢，说这娘们是他说多怕这西方嘛，是他娘们是娘们军事中国的用的他。
mhm, mhm. So then the third section is the way to maintain the experience at the end. So if, for instance, one has been practicing and then one gives rise to some experience, some realization, then it's important to sustain that realization to carry through the continuity of experience. If we have some experience and then we kind of leave it at that and think, oh, okay, now I've accomplished something, now I can sort of relax, then that experience will dissipate. It won't remain. It will dissipate. And so it's important that if there is some experience or realization that is gained, that it is maintained um, or sustained, continuously.
真的，他说把这娘们中了呢，是他七万没差，老那同比不跟上了，那么上街留些事情呢，说了吧，等东西，这七万没他，他全国学的是七万没他，
Mhm,
这七万没他是先把钱呢，这偏托有的，但当我做人嘛，长的的那这康贝呢，就是这七万没他是一个程度讲究，这是轻松的皮，是蛮因为他拼着，他没他的就简单，真的这研究去了，这接触个的是。
mhm.
这期间呢，老那碰见不太是，特别讲是那么那上街我进都些的是，说说这边那么上街我进都些进呢，说的话东大别些把让老说那些满意吧下是。
So then it says, in the dimension of your mind, which is subdued and kept short in thoughts, reflect on death and impermanence, generating the recognition of your guru as a real Buddha, and supplicate with heartfelt devotion. Then keep your awareness spontaneously relaxed in the dimension of non-distraction. So it is important to continuously reflect throughout the entire course of our practice on the contemplations of death and impermanence. If we really meditate in such a way that this is something that deeply arises from the depth of our beings, this kind of keen awareness of impermanence, understanding of impermanence, then the mind of renunciation is effortless. It really we develop a deep sense of renunciation towards samsara.
真的是那多么切身的认识，这那叫那那些同伴些，他叫那那些他的帮不老算，
Hmm.
结果是这那点把头吧，那控制些是，但点把头是那这，这是他光把满意，空把赢是他空不过去的，所以我等下做，咱这年度在牛毛吧，开始空从那天刚空气球全部掐到，我让他说。
Hmm.
我在那一做光年们去啊，在年们刚做在空中的，空气要不强的，光不让一光呀，刚先做是光呀，当真的空气才做强的光刚来光呀，第四光麻将那做光刚来光呀，我听着用个嘞，他空这是吧？
Mhm.
这是是吧？因马英文有人to中国是马英文to有人to中国的是。
Mhm. Then it says, so keep your awareness spontaneously relaxed in the dimension of non-distraction. This will bring clarity without concepts, which is pristine, vivid, and nakedly clear. Such clarity must appear perfectly throughout the four activities. So we've talked a lot about the four activities and sustaining this undistracted awareness throughout these four activities, and how this is such an important part of maintaining the practice, the continuity of awareness. This is called nailing stability with practice, which means that it is necessary to sustain non-distraction for long periods. So this takes active habituation. So in fact, there's the famous saying, that is, it is not really meditation so much as it is habituation. When habituation becomes perfectly stable, that is then when it becomes meditation. And so we're in a process of changing our habits, because what we are most habituated to is the phenomena of the afflicted mind states, the afflictive emotions. And so when we are really meditating well, that becomes what we're habituating ourselves to, sustaining undistracted awareness. And through habituation, then this becomes an imprint, it becomes a habit. And then at that point, we're able to kind of effortlessly sustain a mind of non-distraction for a long time, for long
我真的
periods. Hmm.
现在光见的大伙没办呢，是光见，但是光的些东西，但大伙没家，但有钱呢，那不人前他们在头有吧，但那不人不去咋行不就有呢？这看见一囊有当呢，这边多有嘛吧？
Hmm.
现在他肯定能有把能一来票，他样的，肯定
Hmm.
能有把能一来是。这不帮说还不行，是吧？但这不这当今同步的话，可能是
Hmm.
偶尔差有嘛，这帮那么还不送呢？这人当
Hmm.
时有嘛吧？结果是呢。
Hmm. Hmm.
我
Hmm.
也是生给吸引大了学，但生给别强的，生给这里节俭之处，结果这玩意老个让我做后边去了呢。我这结果生给这节俭结果的，真的牵着我妈掐从那这个可能人他拉是是。我
Hmm.
在那一天等我让做工，这些呢，在大伙嘛讲那才能掐着个来是的。
Hmm.
啊，他们可就点这是呀，啊，用忙那么多次忙的着啊，他就听着样几块掐着个来是，样他光的，要不这军讲过来也种票的，样太多人了。
So it says, it is said, not caring for the meditation that has developed, essentially not nurturing it and continuing to sustain it, is like losing a precious jewel in the mud. So it's essentially, he said, like throwing a precious jewel. Like if you come across like a really valuable gem or jewel, and then you just kind of toss it into the trash, then it's really a loss, because you found this precious gem, not understanding what it is, and you haven't cared for it. You've just sort of tossed it, thrown it away. It's like a king descending to the position of his subjects. So a king who is powerful, superior and powerful, if he doesn't assume his kingly sort of power and instead behaves like his subjects or descends to the position of his subjects, then it's a great loss. He can't function like a king or like a lion following a dog. So a lion who's said to be like the king of wild animals, if he sort of behaves like a dog and follows a dog, then he's no longer like the warrior of the forest. And so in this way, therefore, care with detachment is needed. So, without becoming attached to the results of meditation, it's important to continuously sustain the qualities that have developed so that we don't fall back into kind of the ordinary habits of afflicted mind states and distraction.
엉이마 지수면라래 봐대 곰자디 곰바 가실래 아서와
Mhm.
곰바 요라다 장네
Mhm.
그래서 그때 공주 계절라서 다 벌써 뒤시어 연 타마다 양대 틀라래 추운종 뭐 탑주원스 지
Mhm.
이름을 강의 공주 그래서
Mhm.
추사야는 면도스 다
Mhm.
둘러서 공야 면도스 다죠
Mhm.
추운종 뭐 지반 탑주원은 zel람베 탑주오쇼 레zel람도
Mhm.
대 지금을 가 물을 롱데는 나 디 차효는 있어 나
Karela?
물을 롱데는 뭐 약효제 있으면
Mhm.
Mais il y a des choses
Mhm.
sur les on est là
Mhm.
chaud tard des longues balles j'ai eu reste n'importe santé pas tard des ça j'ai eu reste
Mhm.
n'importe qui pas ça t'as nous redans dans so t'as jo chana sur les
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
t'as nous dans la chana sur un ninja j'ai maré
Mhm.
on est ninja chana sur j'ai reste là
Mhm. There's a story of when Jetson Milarepa was approached by some hunter. There were some hunters who came upon him when they were hunting in the woods, and they were sort of shocked by his appearance and said and really took pity on him and said, "Oh, what look at you, poor thing, what a sad sight. You have no food to eat. Look at your pitiful rags. You don't have any clothing. You're really a sad sight. We take pity on you. Um, what a kind of unfortunate person you are." And Milarepa said, "What are you talking about? I am superior among humans, like among human beings, I am the best. I really, I should take pity on you. You are really the sad sight because you have taken, here you are in a period where a Buddha has appeared. You have the Buddha's teachings at your um, are accessible to you, and instead you go around committing non-virtue, hunting helpless wild animals. So really, I am the one who feels great compassion or great pity for you."
真的他先老公鸡打火因是他先老公打火仗的是我总是先老公鸡他先老公鸡刚把人下来不他打火因
Mhm.
的那这个他做我在这里但起码没他
Dilla kang batrido
他得要他
Angela.
给我他
Yeah.
打火吃
Mhm.
到
Mhm.
真的先老公鸡打火锅是啷个送
Mhm.
把那先老公鸡刚把吃完是我他刚把忙不在刚把那边他公
Mhm.
他刚把着我他先老才这是他先老是那他听着你个吧谁没他来准备他可能你没这种钱呢他研究也不接呢他伢们没去让网友嘛说的这句这句我在这里查的
Mhm. So then it says, "Thus make a detachment, the feet, the foot of meditation." So this is so detachment here. It's translated as detachment. Sometimes it's revulsion is the foot of
那你
meditation, or huh?
你知道长波线老公就刚把这些药这些长波
Um,
线老公就
So
我是
it's a
刚把
the laukimada
来
the injigitsik laukio detachment some na revulsion zerwa shin lo latang.
哎
So detachment, revulsion, disenchantment. So it's essentially that which engenders the feeling of renunciation. So it is said that this disenchantment is really like the foot, the foundation, the basis for meditation. Through, for instance, reflecting on the four thoughts that turn the mind, precious human life, the rarity of achieving a precious human life, the impermanence, the inevitability of impermanence and death, karma, cause and effect, and the defects of samsara. If one doesn't, for instance, reflect on these, then there's never, one is just at the mercy of karma. One can never sort of change one's trajectory. And so this is why it is like the foot of meditation.
我等那七八年前两季下次七八没他子，这年刚是嘛的，军事全国是两下是年了两季，
Mhm.
现在都也讲当时他现在在前几天时候他讲等于是当过来有种学的，他这是个来考过有了吧？
Mhm.
我这几天呢，我当你嘛，高档别些就有时候卡拉公穷噻，
Mhm.
卡拉公穷噻就有些，但公差不，但卡拉是实际噻，他那公家是对的学啥了哇，
Mhm.
实际没意思的，但他那公家差不在那公家都学啥的，对晓得，对公差不提过的了，吃嘛着我就有啥了哇，吃嘛有
Mhm.
了。
Mhm.
马起落的从队现在起落通过个了吃完了，在从队，但
Mhm.
是吃嘛这空南啥子就脱学啥了哇。
Mhm.
哦，对对，讲起啊，城方子就差嘛，他上来噻。
Mhm.
要的这里哦，他康熙啊，起了来上来要拿最头里面康熙，城方就要推出出发来上来噻。
Mhm. Mhm.
这里昂拿要最现在咱们过的话，拿要差不多拿来上的马儿通特别，城方就要推出出发来上呢。
Mhm.
听着，他推出城方就特别，完了是这里出发头是这是，我他听着研究中的，听着有啥话讲？
Mhm. So then it says, cast away concern for this life, or keep death close at part and cast away concern for this life. So this is really difficult. This is such a kind of high level of Dharma practice, really. There's the story, for instance, of Karak Gongchung. So Karak is the name of a place. And so this yogi was meditating in a cave in this region called Karak. And when he came out of his cave, there was a thorn bush that was blocking the entrance to his cave. So he had to kind of like squeeze through to get by, and his, robes got caught on the thorns. And it was like, oh, this thorn bush is blocking my cave, and it's really kind of a nuisance. I should just cut it back. But then he was like, oh, but that would be a waste of time. There's no time to waste. I need to keep practicing. So he went back in, but he didn't bother to cut it down. And then when he went back into his cave again, his robes got caught on the thorn bush, and he thought, "Oh, I really should cut this back." But then he thought, again, it's such a waste of time. There's no time to waste. Who knows if I'll die tomorrow? I need to keep practicing. And so it went on like this for a while. And each time he decided it would just be a waste of time to cut it back. And meanwhile, the thorn bush got bigger and bigger. But he just continued practicing without taking the time to cut it. And in the end, he ended up um, really becoming very accomplished.
我这讲出发头是这是这些。
So he became a realized master.
我这前天呢，他看了我们就讲把这个的是，莫会讲的我是，但莫会听我们的我那么的是，他说是那么的，他上节课留学前呢，莫会动掐是，讲别个是些应该俺查查那套上面我先把去了，先没听着的是了咯。
So then it says, make devotion the head of meditation. And when you meditate with heartfelt devotion to your guru, the subtle and coarse thoughts spontaneously disappear upon recognizing them in the pristine and vivid dimension of clarity and emptiness.
我真的大可惜那这样，强的人家光可见隐私的，
Mhm.
可见中，除了那我的强吧，人家强调性的是开始那他妈这也奇怪的是。
Mhm. And some would add some. Mm,
真的，我这前面给强调现在买这个钱的，肯定呢，但省钱路马上了钱的，但你们来可惜呢，省钱他们可通去学咱们的，这省钱他们去上街投票，谁这么当呢？真的，你们来运气过来也是我这的，
mhm,
讲到你就我们就质量影响那么多，可以在国家影响那么多，我
mhm,
当着我这里头，我这原来那前面强调现在肯定呢，过个也是。
mhm. And then sometimes it is added, love and compassion are the armor of meditation. So, meaning that at all times one must always have love and compassion in the mind, not ever separating from it. And to never give up on even a single sentient being. And so that means that at all times one has the aspiration to awaken for the sake of the awakening of all sentient beings. So there's always this aspiration for the awakening of all beings. And so sometimes it is said that love and compassion is the armor. Sometimes it is said love and compassion is the enlightened activity. of meditation. So but the point being that love and compassion must also accompany one's practice throughout.
我真的这从头零天看看的是那成别，差不多零天看看，这一节不住，就就是说是这一节不但强着你的呢，强的强哪路亚节有了，这自己了个，我这脑筋两用这些东西得先噻，这两年前呢，听，两年前呢，东巴怎么是工作过嘛的，我总没别东巴总没是工作过嘛的，送学才的。
So then, as here it says, Mahasiddha Lingxin Gong has said, just as the king of yeast transmutes grains into their essence. So, for instance, in curing or fermenting alcohol, it's through yeast that causes then the grains to become like that essence of beer. To he who by the yeast of experience abides in the very state of great bliss of all appearances and possibilities. So it's like that fundamental quality of the experience of recognizing the empty essence through which all appearances and possibilities and all experience becomes the ongoing nature of great bliss. By whatever appears and whatever is seen is unborn and unelaborated. So knowing within this, one knows all to be illusory and empty in essence. As this is devoid of any identification, mere emptiness is pronounced unnecessary. So emptiness within non-recognition, then the empty essence is understood. Apart from that, there's no specific emptiness upon which to meditate, or there's no emptiness, sort of like concept of emptiness to be found.
哦，真的，这啦，他娘们，他这当个做这里啦，你把这钱写的，RAM写了是吧？他忙，
Mhm,
让 RAM 欠着忙给了，他这钱的你用，这钱的你们
mhm, mhm,
说，这所以呢，在我们这所在我们也不见那颠簸的地方，有啥的？
mhm,
他这 RAM 这些的这种，他娘们他们拿走用给的是，他娘们参照也给我们也不家做什么的。
mhm, mhm,
삼성他可能都让我有人不娘们钱，他他用家长其他嘛都上，他就娘们
mhm,
다소용그레스 어때
mhm,
내 세통쟁이 항에 내세지바 그래서 삼성 대다 세통쟁이 항에 당연히 냠내야고 하남 샘금 원통 그러네
mhm,
어떻게 저래는 뭐네 뭐 탭시 토메죠 다 간지 다래 탐탐만 차세 대야고 미바지 이게 곰 카리 송다 다 대가서 이런 거 곰이 텐상
mhm,
소소소소 대류 차그레스
mhm.
나온스
So then it says experiences can occur in myriads of forms, high and low. And he said, there has been this point made about the different types of individuals. Some are, maybe of the capacity of instantaneous realizers. Some are those who progress in gradual stages. He said, but the truth of the matter is really everyone, pretty much, except for very, very rare few, are of the category of those who progress in gradual stages. So that means that over time, over a long period of time, one develops through the progressive stages of the path, and one's meditation becomes gradually more and more stable. But throughout this process, there is, there's no consistency. Sometimes it seems like it's going well. Sometimes one has the thought like, wow, I've really improved. I'm really getting somewhere. And then sometimes one thinks, wow, I've been meditating for so long, and really, like, do I even know how to meditate? And there's sort of this feeling of, not really making any progress. Sometimes there's some feeling of wow, I think I pretty much realize the nature of mind. And then at other times, it's like, what am I doing? I'm completely, like completely distracted. So here, as it says, at times, clarity and emptiness become nakedly vivid, and there's also certainty in this state. At times, it seems dark, foggy, and dull, and you may even wonder what has happened to my meditation. At times, there is distraction by various unidentified things causing irritability. As all these are the ups and downs of experiences, maintain them indiscriminately with neither acceptance nor rejection.
tene re ne ta tela lo re ne ngo ma zi be ta ngo ma zi be nam to ra me na zi ta ngo si to bia ka le re nam to ra me na chu ho sa ba
Mhm,
na
mhm,
so chu yin is zi kwa sa de so 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 zi kwa sa quan sam sa da
mhm,
na ka re nam to ne lu chu me le zam ne ne zi kwa
mhm,
sa on se
mhm,
ten nam chi nyam to me yin be ke ga ro me ji ba chung jar chung se da te ze ga gu ma ro gu ma ya do zam ma ta sa ten ru chung da na
mhm,
tene 중jaar se chung san de de ru la mu tu nyamne sen ma yin wa ti nyamne ti gang la ta jang go re song le da
mhm. And so, as it says that, sometimes there's distraction by various, um, the tes hakuma song, the nguzong me balagare.
de nam to na song chung re da do re wo ma zin ba nam to ja ma da chung ge re sa
Mhm,
ze mo
mhm,
de re zo zi do sa me re sa
mhm,
zen da me da chung ge re sa da ze nam to na so ma mo chung ge re sa
mhm.
de
So there's sometimes just all sorts of strange distractions, things you can't even particularly identify, and this can even cause irritability, thinking, uh, why am I distracted by all of these weird thoughts? And then, uh, um, so the main thing is to sustain, to not get sidetracked by the quality of the experiences. All of these are the ups and downs of experiences. Just maintain awareness indiscriminately regarding them as empty phenomena without regarding them as positive or negative, without acceptance or rejection.
tene da de song do tene ga ro chung jar chung jar ba chung wa yin se xian da ba xie ji ti song do ne na ma yin jiu na 同时，那呢，他先把这个嘛的是，就呢是同时，他怕当下的这个种表啥的，你这个嘛就沿途就是你这个神经把它这个嘛的是沿途就做当做就说是，
Mhm,
这个可能出完，但这个是的呢，这样出完了，查到过来是的呢，这个嘛这是他叫做什么？那路可能讲过的是，嘛
mhm,
因为现在的这嘛这个嘛的是，因为他的呈现的过去的，这边这个，用嘛吧。
mhm,
kanzi chuwa yin sen porwe charo do se o
mhm,
sen porwe charo do se zondo
mhm,
o da se jitan te zong ko sa le te sen porwe charo do se tu tene da be sa jam so zai na na
mhm,
mla re be te zong le xie ba yu qian zhang wa na charo sen por da ma tong zai de o de ka zhe na xie ba yu qi qian pan zhang so na yu qi qian yu yu ra
mhm,
yu qi qian zhang so na charo sen por ka da ma tong
mhm,
se da ma ten go le zong de ten lu
mhm,
다 텐사리 다다 단 남도 뭐 보전 초시단 다 가디네 가리 하고 요래 가서 뭐 말와
mhm, mhm,
어디가 마토 뒤에는 다 그런 바탕 그래서
mhm,
다小队的냠나 지제 첨바 많이 지도 군로도 사요 말 소르 거는 그래서
mhm,
소르 거는 거 그래서
mhm,
배창다 시나 슬라프다 제로 심포스 배샤하래 가르산한테 점수 되나나 주생제 그러나다 제로제 요나 또 제로한테 전 보안로 다 바탕 저런 소는 밥 두고 말와
mhm,
소는 밥 마토비 등세 갈래 자자 폰폰폰 갈래 자자들이 는 벌써 매도 수사 주생은
mhm,
밥 그래서
mhm,
어 배트나 이제 그 남도 디 스토나 파 셈체바 마인지 그런 바탕 샹들 수사 공부 같은 래 그래 좀 교사래
mhm, mhm. So then it says Shantipa has said, attach not if abiding, let go if sad. Tampo de pena negiona
신바 지죠 말스 네바 시시시죠
dine
말스
DJ la garitido.
他就那通线住那通那就是住是那把通说是现在那新把
So
这
simkiona ke de keyo
Joba
maredo.
and Jay, the
That's
Joba,
all. Okay.
Manziwa, Jiba,
Mhm.
Ton Horse,
Yeah, so it says attach not if abiding. So we don't need to get, to become attached when the mind is still or abiding in stillness. And if sometimes the mind it becomes depressed or sad, we just let it be, let go. If the mind is sad, don't try to alter it, don't try to change it. Do not hold on to anything, but allow whatever it is that is present to disperse on its own accord. Anything deliberately grasped at is confusion. So anytime there's fixation, then there's the presence of delusion, there's the presence of confusion. Look at the birds flying from a boat. So this example of birds flying from a boat is how we should regard the kind of ebb and flow of meditation, just like Milarepa says, when the mind slips out and gets lost in objects, apply the pith instructions of a bird on a ship. So what is meant here is that if the mind follows after objects, if we kind of become distracted but still maintaining awareness, if the mind goes into diversions, don't try to control it or to block the thoughts, because this also won't work. But just as a bird that is on a ship in the middle of the ocean, if it flies off, it will fly off, but eventually it will come back on its own accord. It will come back to the ship, because as it flies and flies, there's nowhere to land on the ocean except for the ship itself. So eventually it will fly and fly and become tired and then come back to the ship. And so, at a certain stage in our meditation, when there is proliferation happening in the mind, we don't have to deliberately stop it or block it. The mind will come back to rest all on its own accord.
다这里嘛，才送的，这那边俺那小是，前头年的做么个是，但是你我那这个是的，那地里看了把你们去下头过去呢，俺前头年的要在那套是那子上呀，先做过嘛的是呀，那套在抽呀去过嘛的是，那做过嘛的是，俺就那就是我心吧，其实但那套穷皮但就是那套又被给吃了哇，这有呢，我心吧，其实我嘛是那套往小那个的。我的
Mhm,
我心把下是，其实呢，就么个是，我的听我心里那的个光不的，我听就听那前几年，当把那是就个那他去过也是这么多是，哦，
mhm.
那得去哪里？
So then it says, it is thus said, and therefore, if mind abides, let it be in a state of abiding. If there is no need for deliberate elaborations. If thoughts flutter, acknowledge each flutter. No deliberate effort is needed to make the mind abide. So essentially, if the mind is still, let it be still. If the mind is engaging in proliferation or movement, let it be engaging in proliferation and movement. The key is recognition. There has to be awareness that one has to recognize the flow of thought without getting caught up in. If there's not recognition, then we fall under the control of those thoughts. So other than that, if there's recognition, if there's awareness, then whether there are thoughts, whether there is the absence of thoughts, whether the mind is still, whether the mind is moving, it doesn't make a difference.
我真的前年那嘛了，是话打前一块耳机，前身但是我没有给钱了哇，
Mhm,
我这是我们都那的那嘛了，是话的，这块只是耳机或者是耳机
mhm,
是，今年我们前面让三周是的，我们说那的呢，前面的让三周周开始。我呢才看起土地是，我呢他提给我了大的起土地呢，呈现新的提我带过来是，
mhm.
我们让啥做是我的，我们听着我们家庭那的我把的让啥做过来是做呢，这通也来，我是我的，他这通也来听着用来是。
So then it says if the mind sinks in lethargy, so in other words, if there's kind of sleepiness or sloth or torpor, meditate by supplicating the guru and sharpening awareness. So on those occasions, it can be really beneficial to summon the mind of devotion and to supplicate the guru, and also to actively brighten or actively sharpen the awareness. In doing so, lethargy will be purified in its own place. On the other hand, if the mind scatters and becomes excited, meditate by focusing specifically on the excitation. So look at directly at the essence of kind of that excited energy or the excited thoughts. In doing so, the scattering of the mind will be freed in its own place, and clarity and emptiness will dawn vividly.
대다르게 대도 대쟁년 제나 나서 준비생 받지라 랑사 장로 전로 다 지상치나 대도 세제 요란나서
Mhm,
대화세나다 동아세나 저 오늘 진다 대화세대 가서 야지 혀 동아세대 야보면 지 효랑나서다
mm,
와트레든 다 냠나고네 제 친년 다 대도니 뭐 치파 한도
mhm,
선노제 다운 대도니 기는 거 첩들은 동담에 거를 요 말이다
mhm,
소송진 한제 때는 야도니 송디데레
mm,
automatisch so tun sie battle ne ja der war sehr so du hast sehr so der die in bolden da ja na so was der war und du mal jüngere hat ja du
mhm,
ja na so sta chi un kore wa te chi du ja na so se wa te ja na so sting des那说前辈行吧，我在坚持说，那说很轻的前辈行呢，这得到一步给一二米的是多过去了，我那些呢，
mhm,
得到一二米的是多少呢？前辈行吧的呢，让大让着程度，是吧？在对外这些最多也在东亚这些最多也听你去，你这什么怕的让把他呢，让着这个的是。
mm. So then it says, thus, as you hold on to mindfulness during the myriad occurrences of joy and sorrow. So there are, we have joy and sorrow, or happiness and suffering, or joy and sadness. And generally, we think, oh, happiness is good, this is positive, suffering is negative. But from the perspective of practice, actually, there's not so much difference. There's not a difference between these two. These are just kind of superficial ups and downs that occur in the mind. But there isn't any real, from the perspective of the ultimate truth, there's no difference there. So it's just about how we apprehend it or how we relate to it. And so based on conditions, sometimes there will be the experience of joy. Based on conditions, sometimes there will be the experience of sadness. But the main thing is just to sustain awareness, to just sustain mindfulness until one realizes the indivisible nature of happiness and joy, or joy and sorrow, or joy and suffering. And then by sustaining mindfulness throughout both of these experiences, or through these ups and downs, then they are purified and liberated in their own place.
那各种车嘛，机器讲，让中让一，让个下是哪多？
Mhm,
但各种车嘛，现在那批手中的冲着个吧，
mhm,
那批手中的过抽出去买中，但那中的有了，过去那批是买，去手中的那边扎土个拿车手中的，接着牛羊中六十件中有了。我只是在
mhm,
过抽，那么这小时候过抽车嘛，机器是那批做抽，是那么多年的，对吧？那批抽呢，那批做抽使用个吧。
mhm,
我在那批做抽的机器讲是，让用让也。让个下是的，让穷让个的，的亚洲科技那的，金把解决嘛的是这样子，的让穷是让你穷的了，怕让一些个的是，的让个是钱嘛金把钱呢，的让个下的是，我听这种说啥的。근데 타타티 자가 클로폰센도 독세지 봤어. 독세선도.
mhm,
어디 가르쳐서는 타메시바 년큐는 시시라. 타메시바 년큐. 타메시바는 당가도 셈 내로부터 그러.
mhm,
어디 저선이 좀 시송스 년키지래. 다 저모시비게 잘합쇼사래.
mhm,
타메시가 년큐는 시 서로다라 대화 중에시 소초보다 대대 모시송도 대 서로 그동안 용심도 대화 중에 마치 서로다라 대화 중에 마치 준수 대화를 한다. 대자로 서로 다라 대바 주매지 제바 탐지 동안에 동아를 주 승마 제시하다 상마 도미 다 동아를 주리도 숨지 남도 뭐 시로와
Mhm.
어때 도미 동아를 주스 곤트 미비
Wait, 가래 zongzingi.
칼라 땡이마 숨지 남도 뭐 시로와
Mhm.
제바 탐지 도미 동아를 주스 라송 제바 니마 제시하다 티상마 통다 메레 티 동아르 주리도스
Mhm.
제바 탐지도 니마다 송지 남포 소로 초네 베차 메이송 동이나다 다니아다 다마다 동네
Mhm.
티강에 뭐치레 제바 탐지
Mhm.
동미 동아르 주스 곰트 미비 뉴메나 쇼스 기타 곰트 미바 뉴메나 쇼스 곰트 미사나다 동바니라서 곰도 고말 셈 뉴메 닐로가나 쇼스 어떻게 좀 표서와
Mhm. So then it says, whatever sign occurs from the six doors, let it be as it is, self-arising and self-dissolving. So this is referring to the experiences at the sense doors, the six consciousness of the six sense bases or consciousnesses of the sense bases. So the consciousness that sees forms with the eyes, the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness that hears sounds with the ears, the nose consciousness that smells with the nose, the tongue consciousness that tastes with the tongue, the touch consciousness that feels sensation with the body, um, and the mind consciousness that cognizes things with the mind. So just allowing these consciousnesses of the six sensors doors to just be natural, to let them be, to let them experience the phenomena as it arises, but without fixation, without acceptance or rejection. So just as the great master Tokse says, Toksewa,
네네
the ordinary awareness, when the ordinary awareness being, intrinsic awareness, when it awakens in the center of the heart, the six consciousnesses of the senses are recognized to be or are left within their own nature, and one doesn't follow after the pleasant and become attached or feel joy with the pleasant or aversion. One does not reject the unpleasant, and it is understood that all the phenomena that has happened prior within the experience of subject-object dualistic fixation has led to countless experiences of needless suffering. And when instead now seeing this, then one can just allow oneself or allow these sense consciousnesses to just be left in their natural state without deliberately meditating on anything, then whatever appears to the sense basis is liberated upon arising.
드네. 다 특히 이제 신변나스 동아 도som 메뉴 소다 냠래 냠래 샘네로 냠래 진네 특히 이 신디나 디고 냠래 간 네디나 된 도som 통해 노는 말에서 뇨모 도좀이나래 통아이나 디노 노는 말에서 노바지 통은 말에서 그 냠래 노는 말에서 참도 냠래 편 도거래 야 남포가 이게 간주리 안동 세대 총도와 통하서
Mhm.
와트르 조르토비 안데 냠나서 야 펜토 그래서 냠나티 신도나 되게 니지 마지나 냠나티 간다 마네나스 다디 마네나 아자 냠나티 가만해디 이나데 람지 초나 군지죠 서든 람다 면다제 배송 뭐다 면다제 시 냠나티 샘네로 데 냠나치 야테 마네네 샘 드라만해와지 되냐제 냠나치 호제 람다 면다지 장스 메이크업 된로 연종지 서버다 메이크업 된로다 top to 그래 생겨종로 Comment tamba kala cho, sanji comment to biate di kale khabores, the gibok, or the comment tamba sen sanji komarwa, teto kala joros, kanji nyomo number cho, so what the same kinero nyamne, kenali, the koso so that the nyamne karina, same to jardi, nyamne china, then nyomo tapa number cho to base, nyomo bale number cho to base.
So it is said, so then the three, when held with suchness, the 3 or 5 poisons have no power to harm. So when there is no grasping, that one just is, they are left within their own kind of natural state, then the afflictive emotions likewise have no power to harm. If not held with suchness, even by practicing all the paths, the temporary joy of a happy migration may occur, but not the sublime state. So if, as long as one does not sustain this recognition of suchness, then all of the paths will become a great accumulation of merit and virtue and will lead to higher migrations or favorable ripenings within cyclic existence, but they will not become, the practices themselves will not become the cause to attain awakening, to reach the state of Buddhahood, until this point, this essential point of realizing the nature of suchness is established. One who knows this nature of suchness, utterly unravels afflictive emotions.
다 조란 남기다. 다리 조란 남기고 뭐 몰라로.
Mhm,
조란 남기 마에 쳔베 유테 고스다 조란 남기 로차니도 로. 등니마 데 지수 말아래 봐요. 지수 말아래 봐다 잡고 이제 단산데서 잡고 매요 말아지 돼.
mhm,
데 잡고 이제 나 쇼디 요사리. 데 레중
mhm,
잡고 신바나 쇼 요사로.
mhm,
데 레중 쇼기 가서 지수 말아래서 제 손와 사로.
mhm,
데 지수 말아래 레제 요라 코나 코야.
mhm,
딩고 돈 데니에디 요사로.
mhm,
데 레중 섬노 칸 코르스나. 게 라마 제탕다 똑반 타르시니 라마제 레스.
mhm,
이나 제 문두르 야 효게 야지 이슬람 카통르
mhm,
데시나 디스 야보 무자레스 너르
mhm,
녜딘 야보 히람
mhm,
도 잠도코
mhm,
데 지즈메레게 야 데타 하고 지즈메레 공원도도 데
mhm,
공원데니 다 레중 지나다 심제고 마레스
mhm,
샤 심제고 마레스 카르세나 당가 랭가 녜신 곰스메라레페 랭가 녜도 곰쇼스 데모 워세 헤베 담가 요스
mhm.
랭가 로신 곰스 데나 로도 쿠르바시베 담가 요스
Gongta?
너도 꼬라로야 시비 담아요스
Jo
너 꼬르바 꼬라자 하고 매베
Koragya.
돈 초된 꼬라로 매데
Uh-huh.
어도 꼬르바라 꼬라 너도 꼬르바 시비 담아요스
Mhm,
너도 꼬르바 시비 담아요스
mhm.
아 ren가 주진 공스 주진 조남 요라 주진 공스 조남 추니 시비 담아요스
Rinka?
주진 공스 주선 조남레 다 조남
Mhm,
조남 추니 시비 담아요스
mhm,
조남 카리나 조남 요라
mhm,
조남 추니 시비 담아요스
mhm.
레가 사신 곰스 사동 송거케베 담아요스 사동 소
Reka? Oh, Rega,
랭가 ongas
Rinka.
랭가 로다
But
지바라서
Zashe do.
와 사신 곰스 다 곰쇼스
Mm,
사동 송거케베 담아요스 사동 소
mhm,
거로시야 담아요스
mm,
응알아요스 샹미스 응알아요리 근데 샹 텐두요 마레스
mhm,
그래 좀 요나 가와라스 그래 좀 초텐두 냐면 요나 마베가사레스
mhm,
어ter 정도
mhm. So then, it says, thus, it is necessary to keep constant mindfulness during the 4 activities. So we've spoken a lot about the 4 activities, the path of conduct, and the importance of maintaining mindfulness. So as Jitsa Milarepa says, so at one point, Milarepa was staying in a cave, and Rachungpa was also staying in kind of a cave nearby. And Rinpoche came to Milarepa's cave early in the morning, and he saw Milarepa kind of slumped over with his, meditation shawl covering his head as if he were sleeping. And Rachungpa had the thought, my Lama is really realized, he's highly realized. And so he doesn't need to necessarily, exert himself intentionally in practice, but it would be good if, for the sake of other people, or for the sake of optics, if you will, if he would get up early in the morning and do his do recitations or something like this. And so Milarepa, of course, saw Rachungpa's thoughts, and he said, Rachungpa, don't worry. As I sleep, I sleep, if I sleep, I have the ability to transform the ignorance of sleep into clear light luminosity. I have the pith instructions for this. And so sleeping, I abide within the clear light luminosity of awareness. If I walk, or if as I go, or travel or walk, I have the pith instructions for turning all walking into circumambulation. If I engage, I have the the pith instruction for turning all conduct into the awareness of Dharmata, the experience of Dharmata. If I eat, I have the pith instruction for turning all uh, eating or all food into the substance of Agana chakra. Um, I have these instructions, others do not have them. Richungpa, if you have them too, if you understand them too, would be very delighted.
这几天呢，他真把有的几是的呢，常是进步是，让给听也让给从的都是的，让是你让说大过来是，
Mhm.
马英现在大堂吃就那是，因为现在听你多嘛，就是说，但马英现在大堂他把车送了，但因为现在那路是多头不没来，现送呢，我得多头不没来送的话。
Mhm. So then it says the great Brahmana has said, look at your suchness by recognizing, or look at suchness by recognizing it yourself. If the gaze of undistracted mind is lost, then mind with distractions cannot realize suchness. So as long as the mind is distracted, then suchness is not seen. The gem of suchness is then lost amidst a jumble of objects. So essentially, when there's distraction, there's no ability to view the intrinsic essence of awareness. But when intrinsic non-distraction is maintained, then whatever arises becomes an expression of the mind itself.
的呢，我这种多，我不常常吃的，那如听你多是，我不常常吃的，加了加了偏多些上面嘛，有的听讲那有当的几块的是。
Mhm. So as it says, the gem of suchness is then lost amidst a jumble of objects. So this is similar to what came before. It's like not having the care to look after and maintain what has been gained, what is so precious, this precious recognition of intrinsic awareness. It becomes the same as throwing a precious jewel that you have found in the trash.
我真的这种多，他没人把它讲没去叫那那批同把些用，是他没人把对呢在讲的对叫那么些我看的，那的光可能着特别，我他就用个这是。听讲他这个合唱学院把这常常在这个我们家的些老师那后那的，然后叫那么讲了，在学着呀，我们其他那嘛头，你们那其他
Mhm.
几嘛头吧，他就用
Mhm.
个多晓得，但谁没人学你们那起的呢？在叫那
Mhm.
那批同把些用个这是。
So then it says, thus, as you move on without distraction, the effect manifests in the four activities. So again, whatever it is that one engages in, one has to continue the practice. One has to carry this mindful awareness into all activities. So, like he that he said yesterday, sometimes there can be this kind of real care that is taken in meditation, and then in post meditation, in activity, we kind of like let our attention go out the window. There's not, we're not able to sustain, or we don't make the effort to sustain mindful awareness and activities. So it's very important to make a point to carry the practice into all activities so that it's understood that the practice itself is maintaining undistracted awareness at all times.
等到这前边马中央这种强强人民强州吧些，我的是他这边马中呢，他的让他这个要不他你们那起托送的是他做起前把没拿上一在我们当来我想弄领导啊。
And so then it says, even without being in mindfulness, you sometimes find yourself in the state of clarity and emptiness without grasping. So after you've practiced for a long time, sustaining mindful awareness free of distraction, then even when there isn't the kind of deliberate intention of mindfulness, suddenly you find that mindfulness is present, that you are just sustaining a state of clarity and emptiness without grasping.
我真的，真的，咱没吃别，咱听说你们那要过听说，我那没吃别，咱没吃别，看这种现在两把下当，买家进得了康阳嘛，这你们家是我们家都是来的，买家是的康阳出别嘛，这是你们那听说，咱也过是这些讲呢，看对那你们那听说刚着错呢，在这个我们家都是把地的来的，买家现在就那么着我推咱们着我这个一般要嘛的是的，得了康阳嘛着的是。那么让着求经，那么他们经常着求经，东巴的东巴你从大可以求经，多会让着敲在起是东巴的多怕让啥穿的，在敲在心不是那求是那，结果的话同大，这也是你娘吧。求几个说，但你明年吧，他求几个这是那多求进行吧，他求人的军旗明白，我说他心头，他你们俩是军旗明白。但是这穷学的也是求军研究咱们多没来的吧？在我们这家的求军研究来修，咱们多的。我们军去面的家头学啥吧？
Mhm. So Maitripa has said nothing is established in this as either meditation or not meditation. So this actual meditation sort of transcends meditation or non-meditation altogether. Self-liberation of appearances is the expanse of phenomena. So meaning that everything, all possibilities and all appearances are liberated upon arising when this awareness is sustained. Self-liberation of thoughts is Mahamudra. Non-dual equanimity is the Dharmakaya. So Dharmakaya and Mahamudra being one and the same. The thoughts themselves self-liberated is Mahamudra, and the equanimity of non-duality is the Dharmakaya, flowing like the current of a great river. And so the unbroken continuity of practice at that point is just like the ongoing flow of a river, which is also said by Jetson Milarepa that the experience of the yogi is that of the unbroken flow of the river of awareness.
真的，他这个去罗邦读些就有了吧？等于哪一把的？
Mhm.
第一开始从头把三进中波拉是，头把是那头是那个来卡的，从他头把三进中波拉是，头是那从这能多大毛，你嘛俺从错了吧？第一个来卡呢，头把是的个来卡被给家里，头把三进中波上来是，三进中波拉是，头把是
Rompa sena
guess
penademati
guess
guest.
啊。
Mhm. Mhm.
我的头把三斤中不拉是，主趟车边眼数是在从这那么多周把他去，把车的里头的眼数加过来是的。
Mhm.
我从这那么多把车送的眼数加头过来，中不干
Mhm.
的修，看那中行在来，那得是眼数加头过
Mhm.
来。
Mhm.
我
Mhm.
的那些的从这那么多，他们是把车送呢，
Mhm.
主趟车边眼数是，什么人没让我，什么是呢？但他这些把的那么多人嘛，他把送，我说12万，他不给他12万是那什么的哇？
Mhm.
Sarvate somare, ingen menar ta sån sarva, ta te sheba de somare.
Mhm.
Och somas. 또 소마들은 뉴마스나 또 얘도 매 시바들이 얘도 매 시바
Mhm.
뉴마스 저바미 봐 시바들
Mhm.
소마 뉴마 라마 세바다 다 라마 다 마초바트 라마 나 샤고르스 마초
Mhm.
나 라마 샤 소마 뉴마 라마 론데
Mhm.
차자 첨보이스 왔다
Mhm.
대주 나 냠냐 치디는데 소마 뉴마 라마 그나 마초 바트 냠냐 치디는 데 론데 바트 차자 첨보 서그레스
So the Master Toksewa says, let the tired guest of the mind release the exhaustion, the exhausting kind of activity of subject-object dualistic fixation, and rest in the, and rest in sort of the guest house of the fresh, natural, and settled um, oh, kind of natural state of intrinsic or ordinary awareness. So so the mind, they tired, the mind is exhausted by keeping up the elaborations of subject-object dualistic grasping and the constant stress of attachment and aversion. But when this is released and one is allowed to just drop into what is the completely natural uh, abiding of the mind, free of fabrication, free of elaboration. It has these qualities of being fresh, or the word in Tibetan is soma, which is like clear. And this is referring to the that clear quality or the vivid quality of present moment awareness. It has the quality of being kind of completely natural or intrinsic. So the word in Tibetan is nyingma, which is referring to the primordial quality of awareness, that it's the original. It is there from time without beginning, unchanged, always unchanging, and primordially present. And then naturally settled, or settled, rangwap is the word in Tibetan, which means literally naturally settled, or kind of just resting in itself, falling into itself, meaning that it's completely unfabricated. It's just the completely natural mode of abiding. And with this is the Mahamudra that transcends the intellect.
我真的让我做干嘛开始是光家也是看对呀的，那是什么我打光家在那的，现在可上在有的时候条件，说说都把几十了。
So now we can meditate for some moments or minutes together. And just like he said, whatever instructions it is for meditation that you wish to practice, you may do so, whatever it is that works best for you.
对当然了，做这里马尔桑都在开始，他你们就近就行的，接种是在的有人准备给，他就把那些节拿那钱是吧？他就那什么他就呢，但那些是拿这个是，就知道嘛，就什么知道就中国了，他就起了就知道就工就特别的是干的好吧？他做的什么？
Kung ta kapar? Eh,
他定就对了，的。我这种别是太大的愚人去讲别是，讲别他就那些哪能吃的是那多，
yeah, okay.
嗯，我他做的但是那些是哪能吃他去，是的
Mm-hmm.
做的就知道嘛，就什么就知道去，是的什么知道去，上去他们就知道去都给他，
Mm-hmm.
我这个他去那些哪能吃的是。
Mm-hmm.
但这说，你们俩这问题说，他还过这说这，但你们俩一些这问题说，这哪节目的也是假的是。
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then it says, when maintained for a long time, a decisive confidence will arise from within. So it is necessary to decide to have a decisive confidence with regard to this intrinsic nature. So as is said, don't cut through the root of phenomena, cut through the root of the mind itself. And so when you practice, eventually there arises this very definitive certainty where you are really decisive. So this kind of certainty or definitive certainty needs to arise.
就是么来着？生态单位出版，生态先给他是单位出给的意思。生态单位，你们是光别200意思，你们是光讲的这2个的种多。
Kung Dorje po komma som sim ta.
生态单位出给的意思，对吧？有了。
Mhm.
我的你们是光别200意思，你们是光别去那个的，光讲的你们那个的意思。生
Mhm.
态单位出版，你们是光别200意思。
So sim
他先他
ta
他他
ta.
他把点出给的意思，他把东方的我他把就有了的，
Mhm.
出给的意思，对，你们是光讲的那个的意思，但多对呢。
Mhm. So Milarepa says that the view, the decisive view, it must be settled upon with regard to the nature of the mind. And this is arrived at through the process of meditation, through the experience of meditation.
等到他全部撒拉哈，队长加上确实如是，但队员那里加员那里确实可来那，他等于我来说有了，等于我来说确实可来那，康阳同啊提醒你，康同那他那路桥在起码东西都是，康阳
Mhm.
同啊提醒你是，我不按提人出来去，但出来他们去起送是。
Mhm.
我的是那样子吧，但是么个是来的呢？开发你们俩我来看来的，那吃饭当头就没都是，但可能是他就送是。我的对的是在吃饭当下没这种多红。
So then it says the great Brahmana has said, before, behind, and in the 10 directions, whatever I see is suchness. O Lord, all confusion has ceased in me today. I will ask no question of anyone from now on. And so, what this points to is that feeling of absolute definitive understanding, having decided, being absolutely decisive and certain with regard to this nature of suchness.
的呢，他这种是的呢，他的公办他这里但这边中有了，他
Mhm.
公你们来讲呢，但这边中可特别些呢，但这边中可特别些，公边他起着呢，多换我去觉得是，但都公的他起从那都多换我去觉得个的是，
Mhm.
多换我去觉得上级是吧？他上级个的是上级头个的是，这就这么来这批开始中我是呢，这把你他是这把你现在牛毛这把是吧？这
Mhm.
把你牛毛这把写记这把你是吧？
Mhm.
我这把你怕他打你上打你现在扛啥打球击打几百斤有了，
Mhm.
这把你趟打你的怕上现在怕没办法掐松给掐的话上把上是，
Mhm.
让是给让谁话的，一些是结巴的结是，我这一些是做结婚的是我这结送来的啦，没打开上节才来啥，现在打你们那这边上节才是修始终多。
Mhm. So then it says Jetsamila has said, awake in the
他
sense
就当这
that
次的老鹰把当真正的老鹰
oh,
把，
sorry. Yeah. So then finally we have the fruition. So what is the fruition of meditation? When meditation reaches perfection, the fruition is Buddhahood. So one attains Buddhahood with true realization. Jetsun Mila has said, awake in Tibetan Sung is the sense that he is awakened from the two obscurations in the two cells. So the two obscurations are referring to the obscurations of afflictive emotions and the cognitive obscurations. So these have been thoroughly purified. And confusion, misapprehension, the misapprehension of selfhood, the two types of selfhood are over this delusion is overcome. So one realizes the truth of selflessness, the two types of selflessness, meaning the selflessness of the individual and the selflessness of phenomena. Expanded or fully develop, which is J in Tibetan, in the sense that he is expanded with the self-aware, self-luminous primordial wisdom. And so this I, Milarepa, call him Buddha. This is the literal meaning of the Tibetan term Sanjay, which means Buddha, so purified and fully developed. The awakened one, or here what is translated as the awakened and expanded one.
等到他写种是大小话的这种搭配意呢，也是他就大被没大小的球队怕的，也是把他从那他把球呢，得了多件强些打吧，也是我的多件强身，这是。
And Shawaripa says the imputed mind being purified in the basic expanse is merely labeled as Vajradhara. So this is the meaning of Vajradhara, is this purification of the limited mind and within the realization of the basic expanse.
我真的，他差了我说，他有些但我玩着嘛，啥的，
Mhm.
嗯真的。
So then there's this concludes this set of teachings, and then finally we have here what is the dedication.
对前对这明白求一个，对外清白，但对这明白求一个，你明从有桥在清白，你是明白，
Mhm.
但是系统你是明白，那这肯定的，这个我得同你明白了，我得桥在清白，
Mhm.
桥在清白。我处都对这边做那么些事，但我处很多对吧？这，你就讲说空吃饮食，这边做那么些，这不过去空旁拖把的说，这外生钱他们去的南巴塔吧，南大是了，南巴塔呢，过去去空旁就可能就是过去我你我有了我得修空旁拖不说是。
So the great bliss devoid of meeting and parting is the truth body or the Dharmakaya. Non-dual and unified is Mahamudra. By the merit of my writing this brief introduction, may all sentient beings attain the four kayas, the four pure bodies.
真的。桥在进步，连就解决了。我主没得没把西北一些难忘讲些吃吧，就把这看，我们这把做送到这多大的了。
Mhm. So then it says the colophon, here ends the introduction to Mahamudra, the co-emergent unification, an ornament which is the luminosity of primordial wisdom that dispels the darkness of ignorance by Drikung Kyopa Jigten Gompo.
真的，我当时做的接档的个上第别讲的他嘛做查的，我
Mhm,
的接档我做的用的是两来看，都在系统那样我有的是，
mhm,
我的记忆呢，他吃完可惜我那当然就啥的，
mhm,
吃完明天在这听他说我们这的意思是讲那这个吧。
mhm, mhm. So this completes the teachings on this really wonderful text. And as he's been saying, all along, what's really important is to put these instructions into practice, to really apply them in our meditation and our practice, and to, continually refer to these teachings, but to mainly work on practicing them. And so we can take some time for addressing any questions. And if there aren't questions, then we can spend some time meditating.
Should I hear or should I? Oh, yeah. Self-liberated thoughts effectively the same as no thinking?
Dini di samba rangsha rangro yorwa rangro. Dini di yang di namto mebe gi tsemdang chikparebe.
어떤 라시아 랑도르스나 들이와 배짱라시아 다가 냠냐티 티베키시디나 나포 샤로나 데 라샤 라나타 샤로드 데 코란 나포티 차와히라 치투고 마레스 나포 치네데 라사 파트로드 데스 어텐줄 남셔사레 라시아 랑도르스
So it sounds like it depends on how you think about both of these. So not exactly, what self-liberated thoughts are, or thoughts that are, liberated upon arising, or they're self-arising and self-liberated, is that abiding within the continuity of practice, there is the movement and energy of thoughts, but as they arise, they can't leave any trace. They can't really function as ordinary thoughts because they're recognized with awareness. And so as they arise, they are liberated upon arising. And so it isn't that there are no thoughts in the mind, but it isn't the same as like an ordinary process of thinking. There are the thoughts, but they are liberated upon arising.
Previously you mentioned the two types of armor. Could you explain that a little bit? It was a question from Zoom. Could you explain that a little more thoroughly?
The two types of armor. Tani di ta dringamendo ini di gotra rawa di gotra rik nigi korla yang char sung rawa nang lapsong.
고자에
Gocha.
가리다도
Gotra.
배자신 노르웨스
Mare chi sung ba chi gotra ki korla gocha ki korla chi sung myo sarawa. Pacha de jam dang ningji. Gocha yinba,
잠들이 우다지당 고자노 레스 송송 등념의 지하세 세조와 매발 세진은 그래 제대로 고자세 안 찾아 친구 현재 지조 고자니 세진도 대답해서 제대로
that's what you said it.
고자니 봐야 고자니 세대 지대성 뭐 방주라서 세류 정도와 근데 고자니 보다 같은 사례 다 그래는 지다베 고자 당스 시라 고자가 표사라와
Jitawa tang.
지다베 고자당 나시라 고자세 지다베
Nang shira.
나시라 고자는 회사라와
So it sounds like somebody moved the microphone further away from him. Is that the case? Because I can't hear him as well.
그러면 왜
Da tesa
아?
sopo meba draw cha song da ya bodo. Okay.
네. 다 지다베 고자세나 가르세나 다 디과 차신 차완셈 디과 차시 차와다 디과 가르원 삼만 셈 고레스 대 가르고 그 냠내치 하다 준조조 말레스 어ත네 치다베 고자노 다 조버트레스 양치 그 루제 나사로 여러 나사로 동안도 용식으로 어다 나셈 그 동안도 어때 텐루 용나 셈만 와데 마본 와다 치다베 고자세나 텐루레스 어때 나시라 고자 카레스나 나시라 고자지 여러 the same neighbor 시와 대완종아 뉴스타나 더 연태한다고 말이지
Nepa sim nepa tang.
same neighbor 당 시와 same 시와를 용바 인가다 나 same 대완종 등인지디 종종소나 더 연태 믹스자 연태 다도고 말이지 더 마종나 더 종다 말이지 어때 메타스데 나시라 고자스 我在这里的这送多了，你们就看中我在这种的朝鲜那些国家里嘛是，多对那才对啥的节呢？我节嘛对有这个吧。
That's all. So there are the two types of armor that are spoken of by Lord Jigten Sumgun. So these are the armor of accepting things as they are, and the armor of wisdom, like inner wisdom. So so first, so that the armor of things as they are, or things just as they are. First, it seems he said like, so there's kind of two ways of relating to this. I think one is that one is so aware of even the most subtle forms of negativity and defilement that tini dampo dikpa trashin tawa gare
Bang Koreas, Garbo Kiva,
angore.
Juju, Yamlan Chia, the
So being
Diva Trashin
extremely
Chava, Zam Koreas, the Garbo
Mhm,
Chuju, the Jumachuba, Chi
mhm,
Koreas, Chitava Kocha Jake,
mhm.
Jakers and the Chiluk, Nasa, the Bang Maris,
Yeah.
non
Mhm,
Sam Kutumar, the Bang Maris, what that's a
mhm.
Chitava Kochas.
So these two approaches are one being uh, so aware of even the subtlest negativity and non-virtue that you don't commit even the most subtle or even the kind of most seemingly insignificant of negativities and non-virtues, and that you are so attentive to even the most seemingly insignificant forms of wholesome conduct, that you are really careful to take up every opportunity to practice virtue, even the smallest form of virtue or the most seemingly insignificant. So that's one approach, one aspect. The second is accepting whatever conditions. So for instance, if there's sickness, if there is, mental or emotional difficulty or suffering, that there's not an active desire or need to abandon these, but just accepting whatever difficulty and hardship and bringing it onto the path. So these are the two ways of looking at the armor of things as just as they are, or we could say accepting things as they are, for instance. And then the inner armor of wisdom is whatever the qualities are that appear in meditative absorption, whether the mind is resting, whether the mind is still, whether it is at peace, whether it is, there's bliss, whatever qualities of meditative absorption, one is not concerned with those special qualities, or one doesn't become attached or sort of impressed if they are present. And also, it isn't seen as a fault if they are not present.
Peribes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why Shimba.
Are there other questions?
我做的是这样子的，这其他位国家的，那那咋东啊，就是没去帮过嘛的，他晓得起码娘们起的呢，这个
Mhm,
娘们军旗面起过的是，对那咋东啊来说，就是没去帮到过嘛的，是娘们那他起过的也是在唐波
mhm,
其他位国家，那什国家的，但什么年了，蛮年了，样的娘们是军中过的也是，
mhm,
我但对对那天啥的。
mhm. So essentially, like the armor of accepting things as they are is that, in the practice of Mahamudra, if like one gets sick, if there's specific obstacles, that there's no incentive to need to reject or abandon these, that one just continues practicing, sustaining the recognition of Mahamudra in the face of essentially anything. And then the inner armor of wisdom is that likewise, one just sustains the continuity of practice, irregardless of what the experience is of meditative absorption, whatever sort of side effects, if you will, are arising in the meditation, whether there's, the mind is abiding, whether there's peace, whether there's bliss, one just simply sustains the continuity of the practice.
这个啊。
You mentioned the secondary mind.
是的用。
A mind, two minds. Hello.
Yeah, it's in the
this
text. Kosong. Dini di pecha nangla dinda di.
lapsa ma song song
Oh, okay. So did you finish? Sorry.
it's okay. Yeah. This ma lian ma jia
Sorry. I'm sorry. Continue.
You mentioned earlier 2 minds and a secondary mind. And I was wondering, is there a mind that looks at a mind that is maybe, I don't know, evaluating or judging?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a terminology thing, and to be honest, it came up for me too. Like, I'm not even sure what this is. A translation in the text. It's a translation of the text, and I'm not sure what word is being translated, to be honest. I wish I could find it, but dini di pecha nanga inji ke laptang chik di gari buye la gande yona hakuma songini ang sim dang nipe git sim dawo trido inji ke la
karse
pena danga yorwa nipa secondary mind lapna dinda di pena yang truo dawo rowa di sim dang
sim da sim jung xie jian du de
sim
wei
dang sim jung yin jide de yin jide dini di gande do de sim dang sim jung
sim jung xie na jie dang sim xie na da jie dang sim ko na yin ba ge xia de wa sim jung xie na da jie dang sim jung zu zai nam duo mang bo zai chu sim jung xie yong duo da sim jung zu zai zai duo chuo bei xia de chang gan mang bo zai jia yang duo da zai chang gan mang bo zai zo wo de nam duo rei da nam duo jin ba rei ce zuo sim jung zu wo sim jung xie sim dang sim jung xie de rei de ni sim
de tesa laptang NGK laptang tes couple do sim ni yo pa nang shin nangarawa.
sim li chung
Yeah.
le sim jung le jiao sim jung xiang ji dian zong zai zong wo sim jung le de gong qi na na de ina de sim le sim jung le sim jung 比如说的话可以这几天人在里
So he thinks, and this is probably correct, that this is a translation of the words in Tibetan are sim and simjung. So secondary mind is an interesting translation for that. It's actually, the word is mind, and mental arisings is probably what I would translate simjung as instead of secondary mind. So it is the simjung, the mental arisings, or the secondary mind, is sort of not the essence of the mind itself, but all the phenomena of the mind that kind of creates like the limited experience of mind, right? When we're like, it's stuck in subject object dualistic fixation. So there is, the limitless kind of proliferating thoughts and kind of discursiveness and concepts that come from the mind. And this is what is called simjung, which are actually the same in essence. They're the same, the mind and the mental arisings of the mind, or the kind of phenomena of the mind, they're one and the same. They're the same essence. This is what Lord Jigten Sumgun says. But so that is what is probably meant by secondary mind.
在这地方在想的话，还在建的建筑时候最大的是话，这是话还在建建筑时候最大的是，在马来康嘎来说，去弄那做是那么多，康嘎来说，他去毛不接有哇，还做建那对建筑那时候最的是他们给做，但没打下来想的什么东西，那做是有的是，我这印度的秋季那时候最的是，我这就拿到的呢。
That's so. So for instance, in the text, it says there are many streams, right? Like many rivers that all become like one taste or one single essence or nature when they empty into the great ocean. And so it is with the mind and the mental arisings, or mind and secondary mind. Though they appear to be separate things, they are really actually of the nature of one taste. They are both, ultimately the single taste of Dharma, of the Dharma Dhatu.
It's okay. Yeah. 行吧，他这样。
So, beginning, when you focus on an object, I see that, visualization, visualize as Yidam grew over your head, right? And all the other that's like the only time it's mentioned of that visualization. Is that what you do for all the different types of meditations?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, so when you focus on an object, in the very beginning, he says that visualization, 7 points, and you visualize yourself as a Yidam deity with your guru over your head. Okay.
Mhm.
And so for the other practices, that's not mentioned. But is that always the visualization for all?
Mhm. Dini go la pena de you migyu che pechu chewe kabla dini de rang yedam sawa
가르 해주시고.
de lagamendo you de chitang migyu denda de pechuchewe kabla pena shine gome kabla dene de rang yedam gomne dene yang lama de chiwo la gomya yore do sung yorwa yene yang de du mato dene yang du su shemba la sung yomare de gom ja so shemba kabla yene yang changma chewe kabla denda chegi yore
다 선류 제거제 다 제단 골 라서도 다 제일 상만년한테 중국 다탕도 님만 나지 인지 봐 라서 가 가상되나 다 선류제 다 선류 검난 저게 제단제 가서 나 차선 나된 세요로 차선 나된 세대 다做单几天中国帮我出来的时候早动了做我教的什么나된 세我真的我对我开始那当不他强你就强求先记过去了我前面就强调先得几别强调，但我是推出我电视的，咱你们在其他的路忙不你们其他这晓得在几把钱呢？我对其他他就当的我就干嘛开心干嘛我就是你们其他比较起头过来的。我在其头他当部的前面就强调身边他们的他上节投票上，身边他们上节投票起头当然你们起上吧。我现在前边你就强调身边工，现在他旅速度一旦开来那太工。我真的，这让在为了嘛，就我那么光，这是完的。真的交在情况下了，对4年来看，差不多这些嘛就把人那他现在公平，他们公平的，可怜那听啊，人们与人系他，我这去真的结了我话，现在都交上那点些事个了。我在交上那点，这光那要我的，真的就是没来的，可是我是呢，身边人的人际公司，我在身边人的人际公司，大家们也强调身体光过来也是。我身边人了，人家公司，让你突击情报公司，他让你突击情报公司呢，一旦他是光过来是突击情报是这样事是吧？我也让你突击情报公司的呢，这样事光过来是，结果在为那么公司的结果在为那么光过来是。的呢，东半年了，有人生是东半年的有人生是，但晓得情报讲有人生，但人家结果来是。这结了我话家一套是的，这结了我话这不来是，这就没得这个特种的我的，我听着的我这你们这我这这当在国家开情报查的有来是。
So yes, quite possibly. He said, so in each of like in that he's not sure exactly where it is, but it sounds like it's part of where you say you're assuming the posture of the 7-point posture of Vairocana and so forth. And so where it says each section, says assume the posture is before. And so you can do that. You can also generate your form as the Yidam deity and meditate on the guru at your crown. There is actually this is, if we think about this, for instance, in the context of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, and Lord Jigten Sumgun and Pakmo Drupa are really like the source of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, which is typically practiced as the progressive stages of the path in the Drupon Kakyu tradition. And this begins with generating love and compassion and bodhicitta. This is the first of the fivefold path. And then and it can be done, as the kind of long-term accumulating each section, through each of the progressive stages of the path. It can also be practiced in a period of, 5 to 10 minutes. So kind of at the outset, for instance, of one's meditation. So first, generating the thought, having the pure intention, may all sentient beings reach the state of Buddhahood. It's with this intention in mind that I'm practicing. So that's the first of the fivefold path, love, compassion, and bodhicitta. Then generating one's form in the Yidam deity, which is the second, the Yidam deity, the practice of the Yidam deity. Then generating the visualization of one's guru at one's crown, supplicating with faith and devotion, receiving the blessings. This is the third of the fivefold path, which is Guru Yoga. Kaya Guru Yoga, and then meditating for a time on Mahamudra or Shamatha or Vipassana. He said actually whichever, whatever state of meditation, meditating for an extended time, that becomes the fourth of the fivefold path, which is Mahamudra, and then the fifth, concluding that meditation with dedication, which is the fifth of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, which is dedication. And also Milarepa says essentially the same thing when he says, first, generating compassion for all beings, cultivate the mind of bodhicitta, arise yourself in the form of the great compassionate one, being Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, meditate on your root guru, abiding at your crown, receive the blessings of the Lama, and enter into the recognition of emptiness, or meditate for a time on emptiness, and conclude with dedication. So this is really important, actually, if we kind of apply these 5 stages to any structure of meditation, whether kind of over a long period of time or even in the context of a short period of time for the duration of our meditation. Other questions?
This is one of them, which is, how does reflection on death help to promote non-distraction?
Chiwa mitakpa gomna dini sema yingwa ge pinto yorjirwa yini yang garechine ge gande penatis garechine den la nangshin yongyore.
지금 메타 야고 스튜디에 소나
Mhm.
这那多年吧是接呢他偏多学他们老咱们是宁不学他们
Mhm. Mhm.
我这别强的是那多咱们的教堂模式那多来说他说宁不没办法
Mhm.
所以个吧
Mhm.
可是那教堂模式这那这教堂模式可能没他的
Mhm.
这对这哈可能对没他的这里的这宁不同两年起下上这先说那特别偏给这上
Mhm. Mhm. So it functions like this because if we really think about the truth of death and impermanence, it's kind of has this sobering effect where it helps us to realize that distracted mind is pointless, that there's no essence there. So like all the other thoughts that we concern ourselves with that are like, worldly in nature, attachment, aversion, and ignorance, that they're really pointless, that they're a waste of time. And so it helps us to give them up and instead to sustain, kind of to have a sense of urgency about needing to sustain undistracted awareness.
其实没来的话对这是你忙这是主题的我把开心用多
Mhm.
我把它说给这讲好不拉的有啥？这其实没来这边上到，他经常做推送都是，那推送没事，他其实没来的研究的些的话，他经常做多少其实，对不对？
Mhm.
很多。
And so at one point when Milarepa was conversing with some of the hunters, that he was engaged in conversation with, who came upon him, in the woods. And at one point he says, you guys move along now, go ahead with whatever you have time. I don't have any time. I don't have time to waste.
我等俺娘们情况是那多
I need to practice. I'm practicing.
啊，这其实没来的研究节有了，晓得这
Because
娘们
Milarepa
娘们
had
其他没什么有买的
had renunciation, so he didn't really want to concern himself with anything other than practice.
啊。
So, my question is, I understand about emptiness, mere appearance is a product of our minds. Got it. But I struggle a
You
lot.
understand what? I'm sorry.
I understand
appearances?
about appearances are empty, appearances are empty. Okay, everything is, all appearances are a product of our minds, of our,
Mhm.
product of our karma. Okay, I get that. How do we, this is something I struggle with quite a lot. I see so much suffering in the world, especially currently in our own country. Leaders that are supposed to be
Mhm.
watching out for everyone and taking care of everyone, are not behaving well, when it comes to, certain populations of people, and they're rewarding other populations of people. It just seems there's a lot of, equanimity going on right here. And it's
Mhm.
very disturbing. So how does a practitioner do these practices, but also remain an engaged Buddhist in the world with what's going on to relieve the suffering of others? Because that's part of our altruistic intention, right? To relieve the
Mhm.
suffering of others, benefit others as much as possible. So there's like a part of me that makes me that I feel like meditating in a corner, and I'm making myself joyful because I see everything is empty, but all the suffering's going on around me. How do I be a good Buddhist? So I'm doing my meditation to advance my mind, but I'm also benefiting my society.
Mhm.
How's
Dini pache gogi nangwa tsangma tongpa nigi rangshin he, dini le nang re, dini ningbo yo ma re, di hakoya tes kapo yo ma re.
Yeah,
Yena yang, dinda yona yang de pe zambuling la pe dunga mambo yo re. Dini data yang ngazo arigi jakab samlo tangna, dini bombo kashe yapo yo marwa, dini kongso yang dinda damanda chegi yore, dini yang dinda de chari chori dang pena yang garela gogere mere gi chepar chimbo dang dinda de pe damanda dukcha chegi yore. Dini di changma tong ne, dini pena ngazo nuni dinda de pena di parja ke mare labna deni nga gom gya ko deni ngarang yang dewo kipo dena yong dene de gom gya na chikchina yabo mare samgyore nuni chini de nga cho denda simchin na pingo deni yang de pena zambulengi dungal samlo tangne deni di yang meba zoya ki tapshi dawo che deni yang memang la rokpa che tes ke chembo jire deni di kare la ko gre samsamla de samso tesa dang gawa dawo chagi yorwa dini nuni chini nangba yapo cheya ki chitu gande chego gere pena nuni denda de nika dawo cheya ki tapshi dawo yorwe.
tete da jidang de nga zo tata kharse tata tsadi mangbo xiong da yago ji so.
Re mambo.
Tene da jidang de da de tsere da jidang de zamane kona da ne dang de ne kurbe ki ne dang da sire. Kwa se kona de ru yong gero wa da na ne su na so da so yore. Kon de ru re da go jidang chi na zamane kona ne dang de ru cha gere. Jidang chi na da be chang da xiang da nga rang zi zi xa go wa. Nga zo nga ho ba wa. 호반이 호스에서 제가 게 맞다 저러고 좀 zaman 샤쇼 제가 좀 저렇게 치효스 차디 요랬다. 샤쇼 제가 나 배제 또 치효스 제가 나 참만 네 하나 또 치했습니다. 좀 매바 차요와. 디나다 다들 제가
De burang.
뭐 그런 또 치효스 제가 차디요 드려. 이나다 다들 지나 제가 메인 보사요 말이. 어쨌든 코로나 꿀베네 상황인데 이제 제도야 싫어요 말하잖아. 자만의 코로나 로탄트를 bombo이나 다다트를 로탄트 쿠르바레 쿠르바도 이제 가디나 고단 쿠르바가 좀 딱과 쿠르바도 가라지리 조제 랍도 효로와 배잖아 여러와 되고 드르다 요래 텐데 그 내가 생대한 쿠르베 아니도야 싫어요 말해로와 와테네 다 제단 잠을 다다 빼만 보시쇼레 마찬가지로 제 효래 빼 강에 요러와 당연히 로바 싫어서 지투표 말해 지삼나 지투표 말해 아주 네번 때나 지투표 말해 지투는 이니 제 참니게 아주 다바 참니게 공고를 저혀와 참니게 공도 테네 참니게 저 공네 제 컨트롤 로바 지투비아 흔히서는 아주 지하세 개침보리 와테지 소소 냠내 지된다 냠내한테 참니게 당저 냠내 지초거와 와테지 초거래 테 테네 치초그래 tenru yamna 치초그래 저도 자자 신부 공나 yamna 치야वर 잠니게 단저베 로바 치초그래 시안 와시안 pen kanto 치톰나들 야고래 된다 지스가라서 다 시라 시트야 네반랑 티 가래 가본도 왕랑서 다시나 어때 시라스 치야마 다치 톰나 야고래 이 시톰나 야고래 가시 다치 마톰 나가서 모남다 자zen 자면에 상마제 시대 유명하다 다제 마마보 시쇼 다소 상마제 텐로 투비아 동 텐루 제 모남다 제치 치르면 다 제도야 시라스 요 말, 제도 임도 단 쿨베 내상을 했고 쿨바도 내당자 만든 토면 나서 내도 나서 다 용효로 와. 어텐류다 안들이 용효 다 레일된 총효 저거세 레 좀제 세트된 데 총효 샤트다 레 마지 와서 되고 내수시 총야라래 어텐류 시라스다 제도야 요 말와 테이나다 이런데 로바 치톰 치고래 스테지 참내게 단저바 요래 치토비야 오늘 배 야고래스
So he said, well, you know, this is just the way the world is always. This is kind of how samsara is, right? It's just the way of samsara. And that, you know, they're all the world is always a place filled with suffering. And this is just kind of how it goes, you know, with samsara. He said from his own experience, you know, as a Tibetan, you know, when he thinks about, you know, Tibet used to be this really thriving kind of empire that was very powerful and, you know, sort of, you know, very, you know, a really influential and powerful empire, you know, in ancient times. But now it like doesn't even exist anymore as a country. But this is just the way, you know, the nature of things. There's always, especially when you think about things kind of on a political scale and you think about like leaders, world leaders, there's almost always corruption and you know, violence and warfare and injustice. This is just how samsara is. And so the world will always be this way. It will always be filled with suffering and injustice and a lot of really terrible things. As long, you know, as samsara exists, like samsara can never become a perfect utopia where everyone is happy and everything is peaceful and great. Yeah, look at all of the horrific things happening in the world. There's so much violence, there's war, famine, people are dying. And so if you can help the situation, by all means help. Do what you can to help. The truth of the matter is sometimes it is hard to actually help, to actually bring about benefit. We don't have the power and capacity to do that as limited beings ourselves, to really affect really kind of, you know, vast change and benefit. But it is important to do what we can if there are things that we're capable of doing. And these things don't exclude one another. It's not like you either meditate or you engage in the world with compassionate action. You can do both. You can meditate on Mahamudra and you can engage in the world with compassionate action. But we have to also understand the limits of our capacity. You know, it's great to want to help, and if we can help, then this is wonderful and we should do what we can. But it's also difficult to really be able to really help the situation. So it's kind of like, you know, either way, if we can engage in the world and affect change and benefit others, then this is a wonderful thing to do. If we just focus on our meditation and practice, this is also a wonderful thing to do. If we can't affect change, if we can't help others, or we don't have the capacity, then what we can do is we can make aspiration prayers. So we can you know, have this aspiration and prayers as part of our practice, you know, always making the aspiration and heartfelt wish for all beings to be happy, for there to be peace and well-being throughout the world, for you know, darkness to be dispelled and for goodness to prevail. So these are really wonderful prayers to make in the context of our practice. But also accepting that this is just the way of samsara, that there are all sorts of things. There are good things, there are bad things, there are happy and pain, happiness and pain and suffering. And all of these things come about through karma. So this is, as you yourself said, the karmic display. And until the karma of beings is exhausted, this is how it will go. So if we can help, by all means, do what you can to help. Try to affect change, try to affect benefit in the world. And you know, if you can, then this is really good.
Mhm.
I have a comment and a question.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, my comment is, when I was a little girl, my grandmother always taught us that we needed to be very careful with the sharpest knife in the kitchen, and that was our tongue.
Mm.
So since I was a little girl, I have been aware of
Yeah.
how harmful our words can be and how we can destroy someone else
Mhm.
just by the words that come out of our mouth.
Mhm.
And that was my statement. My question is on grasping.
Mhm.
Is there a borderline? Because we can grasp the negativity either coming from ourselves or from someone else.
Mhm.
But so we can also grasp on the positive, or we can also grasp on suffering. Where is the borderline that we cannot, uh, see? Sometimes we go too much on one side, sometimes we go too much on the other side. So where is that borderline that would make us a better person on this earth? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't think I really understand the question about grasping, because like, I understand what you're saying. We can grasp negativity from ourselves, from others, or the positive, we can grasp suffering, but what I still don't quite understand what the question is exactly. I'm so sorry.
What
Yeah.
would be the borderline?
No, I know, but I mean, there is no borderline because the goal is not grasping at all.
That's my question.
So what is the benefit of grasping in your mind? I didn't quite get that.
Should we grasp on the suffering? Should we grasp?
So you
on
mean like
positive,
have a
or not
concept?
grasping at all, even on the good side?
So when you say, should we grasp at the suffering, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so my understanding of what grasping is, when we hold these thoughts and we actually act upon them, whether it's beneficial or in a negative form.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying like if we don't I think I'm understanding what you're getting at. Are you saying that if there's some grasping there, then we can say, oh, this is negative, it needs to be abandoned, or this is positive, it needs to be like increased upon our practice. Like if you're saying, you know, so that's sort of the beneficial point aspect of grasping. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, kind of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If grasping is something that you take personally, whether it's good, bad, whatever, and you take it and you act upon it, even your meditation,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's upon grasping
Yeah. Okay.
situation. Is
Uh-huh.
that really beneficial for us? practitioners,
Mhm.
is it?
Yeah, test couple in okay, so I think I will do my best. Yeah. So dambo mo chi laya yorwa kain sene chi di pena bupe gi tambe yore sung yorwa de pena sik sonja yo mare yin yang ni shimbe gi ning tor si yorwa sung yorwa tene mo gi momo yorwa grandmother momo grandmother dine mo pugu yindu the grandmother gadu yana laukiyore dine gadu yana the top song nanglagi di nopo chesho de zap zap che go gare di nopo chesho de gare yore sena chigi chi re kare chi dini di tsik la zabza che ya yore, zabza ma che na mi la pe nupa tang si gare, di tri tsukpa nang shin cha gare la yore wa. Dini mo lo chung chung ne di gi lap sa pe yi la dro yore wa. Dini di lap go samsung kain sene chi sung ba dang dawa dawa do. So he was like, yes, right. That's the same as what he was saying. So that's great. That was a lesson you received, in your early childhood. Dini di yorowa kain sena zimba cheju yomare lap yorowa mambo zimba cheya yore zimba cheya yomare ini yang nune chini zansam rawo che yojire kain sena pena ngazo zimba kayang mena dini nyamlin che tugyo mare dampo pena te dunga zinya yore yapo zinya yore dupo zinya yore ini yang pena yapo zine o di nga che go dini gewa duk go zimba yona yapo yojire dini di dukbo zena o di pango dekpa chena dini yabo yojo mare yang di yabo yojiro dini yang pena o nga gong ya go dini di yang zemba yorowa yini yang tina mena dini gong ya gamare dini nune chini tsansam de zemba ma cheya ki tsansam kapar do rawala gyore
네. 이 사람이 하고 마서 다 요는 대전한테 제안사래다. 다다디 대전한 다做을 랍셔로 와가라서. 갈라셔서는 단 짐바데스 가지오나 동아르시 체셔리에서 랍셔 다다비아제 요로한테.我这 야고 다 야고 시야 뭐 나랑 소소마데 야고 소소 야고 용야 지보 용야 소 체셔다 마세스로.你那这群常常大把在拉马就的嘞，马步这群东岸去的，我们都过有嘞。我在亚洲人点他都过他的点东岸的是刚刚有往俺说，我这刚刚他东岸这刚刚世界有嘛哇他，世界有嘛东岸刚开始，这样就是东岸在亚洲人都不用个嘞是，我这样就是金巴的开始嘛冲突当头那这是个东岸冲个嘞是。我做嘛，但几把草嘛，他没把吃过，那他去图片嘛来了哇，我这去图片嘛来，这内容多少没？瞧得起我内容多少没？把吃完没把水土。第四，咱个从几把穷当头呢？在刚刚吃完了，提纲了这第四，东亚是穷个人是。我们台湾他在亚国人是休钱不休，在说呢，如果穷的东亚他天哪休钱不来不到的他。我这样我听着有，但看些故事听着有用多。我昨天早上就用手机做呢，没看些刚刚在吃用的，但在吃的这些他在写个嘛哇，现在我几波东岸那是客人那是的，我几个东岸那就用过呀，客人做的，我这听着别忙不了个哇，但我那几波马来先把听着用手来听呢，我这说的在这边休息不，我那在这几波说上了。基本大多数特别的是那种会被拿过来看我有的这里，我这里，现在我们家是呢，他我们家的，基本上他在说咱娘俩去呀，这其实咱们什么在用过的话，这当汤包啊，做前面的强调什么的呀，这做过的是拉上这里，做娘俩去呀，那个是前他们这种说的，我们家上前面强调什么的呢？这当基本上最第一次在有的话，他的基本什么这个是帮头有嘛的吧？我天天就在张博在过说，那你在过桥在前。那路多少那真的，个人民拿来人民讲是，个上哪一码在哪里，人民拿人民讲的这确实的哇，听住呗，哎。
So he said that mainly we can think about it like this. So it is said generally, however much grasping someone has, their suffering is in direct proportion to the fixation in their mind. So the truth of the matter is we all have a ton of grasping. And because we're all focused on, you know, what's best for me, how can I be happy? You know, we always want happiness, we want pleasure, we want all the good things, we want to avoid all the bad things. And suffering is inevitable. There's no one who is not, you know, who doesn't have any suffering. If there's good, then there's bad. So we're constantly experiencing kind of the ups and downs of life, the polarities of pleasant and unpleasant, the polarities of happiness and suffering, or pleasure and pain. And so what we want to do in the face of that is to diminish our grasping as best we can. You know, we're far way away from really being completely free of grasping. That only happens like at a very high level of experience and realization, where you really abide within the recognition of the true nature of awareness. And at that point, the practice is to remain free of all grasping. But we're not there yet. And so what we have to do is do what we can to diminish the fixation that causes us to suffer, because as he said, you know, the degree of our grasping determines the degree of our pain. So what that means is, in particular, when we're confronted by difficult times, that we try to let go. We try to diminish the grasping. If as much grasping as we have, then the more intensified that difficulty and suffering will become. Like, many people think when they're having a hard time, when they're really suffering, like, why me? I'm the only one who has to suffer like this. But that's not true at all. Everyone suffers, everyone experiences pain. And that why me, I'm the only one, is grasping. That is kind of indicative of, you know, or it shows that the quality of the grasping mind. And so the practice to diminish grasping is love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So when we meditate on love, compassion, and bodhicitta, then this causes that mind of fixation and self-grasping to diminish. And so when one is really at an advanced level in the meditation, and of course, as you said, you know, we function, everything is kind of functioning based on grasping. It is grasping that causes us to want to meditate, for instance. But at this level where one is sustaining the unbroken continuity of awareness, you know, with the realization of the true nature of mind, then abiding within that is sustaining awareness without fixation. So whatever arises is experienced as equal taste, and there's no grasping, there's no accepting or rejecting, and the only instruction there is to sustain awareness free of fixation. And yeah, so if he's not sure if that addresses it, but
야, 근데 다 쳐봐요.
so do we have some other questions?
야,
Is it necessary to receive formal pointing out instructions if we feel we have already had some experience of mind's nature that is sufficient to form the view?
Dini Garci, soso di nyamnyong tes, che yosare samna penatawa te, sa gande tokpa halam, sam che yona, sorwa yona, dini di lama che la, o kuchi ngala dina di ngoto nang ro nang lap go greve. Mixel gi ngoto, tawa sim gi ngoto, tawa shu go greve.
他这趟这趟我住先了，他现在全部都我住正是吧？我的我住正是，真的 mix 也刚在说太松着用呢，吃完当呢这种啊。
So actually, you know, you've received pointing out. That's what these instructions are. These Mahamudra instructions are pointing out. They're formal pointing out. But if there's some sort of doubt or uncertainty in your practice, then you can request, direct pointing out from your teacher, or you can request, clarification from your teacher.
我对这么大的个种了，也蛮些
Mhm.
节日干了 six，也切什么都能节日干了，das 上去干有了，
Mhm.
干干的
Mhm.
啊，
Lasso.
我干点别吃去六万米斯，干点别
Mhm.
吃的六万有嘛的是，
Mhm.
伢没得伢钱可多是是，伢干什么都那伢钱伢用钱都可多是不是，
Mhm.
说伢钱可多是什么了 pants，说伢钱可多是什么了 pants，那的
Mhm.
说多是那这想 pen 个
Mhm.
的是，
Mhm. So Jetson Milarapa says, if you have some doubt, or if there's kind of a lack of confidence, consult with, or if doubt arises, consult with the teachings of the Buddha. Look at the Buddha's teachings, because the teachings, the words of the Buddha are infallible. And if there's some kind of uncertainty in the meditation, consult with someone who has direct experience. Through conversation, then there is benefit that can come to the mind.
对的，他这把这一思维。
Other questions?
Yes, there's a question that I just put, Virginia, in your chat.
对啊，这这有才知道的。
Yeah, Tanya.
嗯，
Okay, on part, Milarepa said to Rinpoche, if I engage, I turning all conduct, action, behavior, result into experience of Dharmata suchness. Can you tell and give example we can apply it out daily engagement? Does this mean turning all engagement, body, speech, mind, thought, into non-dual, non-attachment, aversion, radiance, awareness, daily experience? Okay.
不喜欢的喂，
There's a Rinpoche Dang
他
Tope.
长大可能那这个是
No,
吧？那
digere, lo chok. So Milarepa gi garsi de chawa chuna, tene de chulam zangma, chawa zangma, de chuying gi ngowo la tagi chik lungchen chik sung yorwa di
那么
rewa.
我这爱他
Yeah.
来吧，
Mhm.
可是呢，可不
Yeah,
吧，
dire. Okay.
啊，
Tene de garsi penangatsu gi nyamnyong la tenda de chulam kap la de gande che tu gare. Penangatsu de lu nga yi sum dang de nam tok sangma pena tenda de nizen me pa tene chadang me pa tene sangma yang tenda de rang rik pe yeshe gi u sawe gi yang nyamnyong dawo cha togrewe.
啊呢，我到这里是的，他到的就是没来的，突就是那个，然后年轻想打，然后年轻什么想打，突然没被解决的是那个吧，突然没被解决的是我到这里这当天呢。 我当初听说起他们那会儿也是在后头呢，在叫他们草嘛，在年龄弄起，我这当这第一下搞来看过，但叫他们说往第一次学过来的学生呢，在体育网的有人不嘛学了，是说往是前边这些行吧去呢，做年龄刚加他们那也会有的也是。 对，你看上当然俺小心呐，听说这么大的，小在新坡这么听说这么大的，多少那些那可上哪一吧？在多少那在昆巴家说那在昆巴提这这么大，第一个那这么大，我为那个说我打把当到过了吧？我为这个打盘着做完着呀，这这么大，没些在光子那提我那打的呢，这严重嘛了，这上万三那可拉提那这么大，我听说去就那么可怜那提刚这么大的，先把这了，这是吃他们说小麦头来严重着的。 很给了很多钱了，但俺钱呢，他没来的盘东西，我想大多的，你们来去拿这个啊？
So essentially, this instruction from Milarepa is saying, look at your mind at all times. So in all of the activities of sitting, walking, standing, lying down, at all times, look at the nature of your mind. Look at the mind, look at awareness, and then all conduct is brought onto the path of like virtuous activity, or all conduct becomes the nature of virtue in doing so. And so the reality is that, like, to really be free of attachment and aversion, and our path of conduct is really difficult. So, you know, we get caught all the time. And maybe, you know, we fall into attachment and aversion. But if we apply mindfulness, we notice that we've gotten caught. And so as much as we can remember to recognize, to be aware, then that mindfulness, that practice of mindfulness is how we should sustain, you know, the practice. So he mentioned that the other day, or yesterday, when he was saying, you know, to deliberately bring mindfulness into all of our activities. So in a simple way, so that we're focused on the simplicity of the actions that we are doing, the actions that we are engaged in. If we're walking, just bring your attention to the movement of your feet, bring your attention to the action of walking. If you know, and whatever you do, the breath is always there. Bring your attention to the breath. If you know, bring your awareness to your experience in a present moment kind of way, so that you are not caught up in the discursive elaborations of thinking, but that you're there with present moment awareness. If you're eating, simply eat, to be aware of the fact that you are eating and the process of eating. And then this naturally has the effect of diminishing the phenomena of attachment, or the elaborations that feed kind of attachment and aversion. And so this is essentially, you know, what Milarepa also is saying, is to sustain mindful attention in all activities at all times.
근데 다다 냠네한테 제단테 튼잠제라 좀함 참아제 단이 냠네 야고 치토 그 komisyon 야고로 와 그 가지 투금나 배차다 샤나다 소소제 당에 배야 캬인다 뭐제 메갈렌다스 총나 셈나다 제 러시데 딘도 라메다 니스 용거로 와가라서
Is Garela Michik?
제 메제 마가노 남조다 총요나 제한 라메다 치용거로 와가라서我的 마가 남자 총나 대디 총나 대제 유령본 지도야 요만 봐요 슈 마지바지 대 냠내가 소 체지나 대대 요라 차가 말이다 냠내 대대상 콤페 용게 아 대디 냠내가 제 심마토 나조이나 제 심토나데 야고로 하자 제 마가리 총 로치도 냠내 치토나 대내주 요 말와 가지 디스 마가 차나 디상 디스 소좀 당디 소소 쳔라시니 대 냠내가 소 자르톰나 대 야고레다 대지다 마가리 지봉에 배샤이나다 신바 용모 신바 탐지ар 초버와
So he said, you know, mainly, so the instruction is to continue the practice, to sustain the continuity of awareness at all times, whether we're in meditation, whether we're in activity or post-meditation, to practice so that we're sustaining awareness at all times. And so an example of this, like, for instance, if we can abide, you know, free from fixation and liberate, you know, whatever it is that occurs upon arising, great. But if that doesn't happen, which is usually not the case, we react in the world with, we are, you know, stimulated by the various objects that we encounter, and there's reactivity, there's reaction, there's arising of affliction all the time. But one way in which we can practice, if we're not able to catch it in the moment, is to not hang on to things for very long. So for instance, he's giving you one example, but you can apply this in all sorts of examples of, you know, different types of emotions that arise. If somebody gives you a look, like a kind of like a nasty look, or something that you perceive as like a mean or unpleasant gesture or look, and there's reactivity there, you feel upset or you feel angered by this mean look, and maybe you get angry in the moment, but then on second thought, when you don't hang on to it very long, when you can just, like, you got angry but then you can let it go, then there's no problem that will arise. Or, you know, if you receive the moon look and there's nothing, it's like liberated in that moment, then wonderful. But if there is reactivity, if there is an angered response, then the key is to not prolong it, to not build a story on it, to not need to like do something in response, to not create a problem out of it, to be able to just like not hang on to whatever emotion that has arisen for very long. Then this is another way, you know, that we sustain the continuity of our practice through, you know, mindful attention, mindful awareness. And this is just an example, you know, someone who kind of looks at you sideways, but it can be the same with any number of different phenomena that incite any number of different afflicted mind states, that we practice, you know, letting go of things more quickly.
근데 당가 저 퇴소 생겨서래.
And so now we are at the end of our time.
근데 다들은 아주 니마니 있어. 가서 니마 니的니마 좀 니的사바상 공다这里니마这种中체크的种哇我甚至在我做在两下的这个多了下从我个我穷是的呢我的确做的这个人不去个人忙不家的就从走了哇我这走的这里这个人不去他家修特别嘛的后片是吧 这我拍是的，这拍相对的那前两组来看人家种的拍过来忙不种，有那自种起的下子都拍，人家这些上学的呢，上嘛特别去学是，我真的我在累积几波明白，这上面去接触去呢，但这个南巴区你们其实是俺做上面接触去呢，真的，但这俺做在那就，但是南州今年上嘛，你们去特别好的在上面接触去呢。在也过去过呀，别开钱不的，什么都的呢。苍马那土地去，台湾那用下去我搞不穷。的呢，苍马那的呢，在你们也过用下汤，过做的汤用下，真正也是把它，他们能学学是。
So he wants to say, you know, he's really enjoyed this time with you all over the course of these 2.5 days of engaging in Dharma discussion and also doing practice together. So he's really enjoyed it and is delighted to have come and to be, you know, sharing in the Dharma with you in this way. And also he wants to say just how grateful and impressed he is, you know, by all of you. This is, you know, Tragor Rinpoche's center. You know, Tragor Rinpoche established this center, and he is not able to be here. He returned to Tibet and has been there for quite some time. And it's quite remarkable how you have all sustained the activities of the center and have continued his vision, even as in his absence, that you know, can continue to look after the center and to create, to facilitate, you know, Dharma activities and practice opportunities for people. This is really wonderful, and he deeply rejoices and thanks you for this. And so not just those of you who are the organizers, Dharma organizers, but all of you who are continuing to practice, to show up and to do the practice and to continue to stay, you know, dedicated to your Dharma activities and to help facilitate that for others. It's really wonderful. And he just thanks you from the bottom of his heart. He prays for all of you that your practice continue to deepen and develop and increase, and that you all have happiness and good health and well-being.
Yeah, thank you.
There are many thank yous coming in on Zoom.
Dene Tsangma
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, Zoom.
Yeah,
So thank you to all of you online and in person.